how to tie knots between every single bead. So say I've got all 108 beads and I've scooted them all to the end to this knot that we have, okay? So we're gonna need a little bit of space between the knot and the first bead. So I'm just gonna scoot my beads back a little bit. You just wanna make sure you don't, if they're really sliding on your string, you might set everything on the table, because if it falls off to the side, all of your beads can easily fall off this string. This has happened. So we've got our knot, the original knot, remember? And then I've got my first bead. So I'm going to take my first bead and I'm going to slide it to the knot. So our first knot is already tied. And then what we do is all we're doing is tying an overhand knot. So I take this end of the string and I'm going to make a loop out of it. I usually just take 2 fingers into it and I flip it over. So you can see the string is, and I'm going to hold it still because I know it's kind of hard to see, it's crossed. And then every time you make this cross in this loop, you take the finished end of your mala, which for me right now is 1 bead, and I'm going to bring it through the loop. And now here is the part where you've got to do some shimmying. I've got this knot ready to be tied down, but we want to get the knot as close as possible to the first bead. So I usually use my finger here and I and this is, you're going to have to figure out your own rhythm with this. This is the part, like after about 20 beads, maybe a little more, you sink into a rhythm, but the first 20 can be kind of challenging. So I'm going to get this knot. I usually use my fingernails of my opposite hand, and I take the knot in my fingernails and I squeeze it and I slide it so that it's right next to this bead. Now there's one more step before we move our next bead, and that's what we call tug, tug, tug. So you take the 2 ends here on top of the bead, and I'm going to grab them and I'm just going to go tug, tug, tug. Not super hard, but not super gentle, just very medium. And what that does is it scoots the knot for you so that the knot is right next to the bead. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate with the next one. I'm going to tie one more. I'm going to slide my second bead. And this time I'm going to tie a knot. Remember, I make a loop and I take my finished end through the loop. And then I use my fingernails and my fingers to get this knot as close to that second bead as I can. But, oh no, look at this. So my knot, I'm going to try to put it out against my forehead so you can see. So the knot is not right next to the bead. There's a little bit of room there, which if this happens to you once, twice, a couple times throughout your mala making process, it's not a huge deal if there's a space. However, I'll tell you this now, if you get a little bit lazy and let all of your knots look like this, you will run out of string. And in that case, unfortunately, there's a couple ways where you could kind of finish your mala, but it will ultimately come apart and you'll have to restart anyway. So in order to avoid this, we do the tug, tug, tug. I'm going to do a quick tug, tug, tug. Separate the strings. I grab each side with each hand and I just go tug, 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 and it just kind of bounces a little bit. And then magically, check this out, boom, tight knots right around the beads, like magic. Okay, one more scenario that will also happen to you. We're tying a knot, I pull my third bead over, I make a loop, and then I pull my finished end, which is now 3 beads, through the loop. Now say, oh no, my knot is really now far away from the bead. A little tug, tug, tug is not going to save this scenario. This knot is really far. So in this case, you're going to have to really make sure the lighting is good and take this knot out manually. My recommendation, and this is a really important tip, unless you're naturally excelling at this already, is that you don't allow the knot to fully grasp or tie down until it's right where you want it. Because the moment you start tying these knots quickly and you don't take the time to scoot the knot down, that's where you're going to accidentally tie a really tight knot that's far away from the bead. And then you'll spend 30 minutes untying the knot. So I'll demo one more time. Take a bead. So I'm using rose quartz and garnet tonight. This is a gift for a friend of mine. So I pulled my garnet bead over And I'm going to take the string and I fold it over here. I make a loop, really simple. And then I take my finished end of the mala through the loop. And then I encourage this knot slowly but steadily. I usually pinch it with my opposite hand. I pinch it with my fingers, my thumb and my pointer, and I just get it so the knot is right next to the bead. And then you spread the strings apart, tug, 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 and you're moving on. And then remembering, hopefully you have your intention, and you can, if you're not sure what your intention needs to be, there's a little slip of paper in your mala kit, so it kind of gives you a little nugget of meaning for these stones.